Who would want to be proud of their homeless kid?
They can become physically dependent on these substances in as little as 7 days.
Have you ever tried to get clean?
I was dead for, I think, 7 to 10 minutes.
You're saying this drug almost brings people back from the dead. The opioid epidemic has officially been declared a public health emergency. Vicodin, Oxycontin, Percocet, and dozens more prescription medications have all been contributing factors to the opioid addiction crisis. Millions of Americans are currently addicted, and more than 40,000 of those people will die this year. Dr. Jennifer Plum and her brother Sam have lived through this nightmare firsthand, losing their own brother to an opioid overdose.
This would be the last place that Andy was alive and where he eventually passed away.
This little tiny brown house was where your brother lived when he passed away.
Yeah, this was the last place my brother lived. Andy was a phenomenally funny and handsome and charming and active. There was not a mountain he wouldn't try to ski or jump off of. There wasn't a water ski wake he wouldn't try to jump. He was really an outdoors lover and really an action lover. He was a kid who grew up in a wonderful neighborhood with a loving family and 2 parents and all the opportunity that you would hope would come to any of us. And unfortunately, he found his way to heroin when he was in his teen years.
At that time, were you aware that he was using?
It didn't take long from when he started using to when our family, realized that it was really a problem for him. Once we did know, we jumped in as a family with all we could to try to support him and help him find a better place, find a place of health, and certainly hopefully help him try to not die, which unfortunately we were not successful at. He was with others when he overdosed, and they were also using, and I think that they panicked. They got very uncomfortable, and people worry about legal repercussions. People worry about calling the police. People worry about what happens if we call 911, and they did not call 911, and everybody left. And I think they hoped he would come back, and unfortunately he didn't. So he died alone after being abandoned and after overdosing.
You guys came out of the same environment, and yet the 2 of you are sitting here in my car, and your brother died from an overdose.
You don't ever really feel like they're gone. It's hard to wrap your head around.
After visiting the place of their brother's death, Jen and Sam guided me to a public park where we could sit and talk about what they are doing to combat this deadly trend. But no sooner had we parked and stepped out of my car when a young man approached us asking for a cigarette. I would later learn his name was Cody, and it was clear that his life has been hijacked by addiction. How long have you been using?
Since I was like 17, I believe.
17. Do you remember the first time?
I started drinking when I was like 14, going to punk rock shows. I was on probation for smoking weed. And
What's your addiction now? What would you say?
opiates.
How'd you get your hands on them?
So back when I was in high school, my friends, they were getting high, and I got off probation, and they had it around. I thought I was just having fun. And then all of a sudden it became my life. But I've been on and off the streets like since I was 17 for 13 years. I don't know how to live like regular people right now. I don't.
Do you have family here?
My whole family's here.
Do you see them?
My mom won't talk to me right now. Who would want to be proud of their 13-year on the streets homeless kid? I feel ashamed sometimes. My teeth did not look like this 6 months ago, for real. I had teeth. I'm an embarrassment. I know it's embarrassing to be with me sometimes. I'm either holding cardboard signs, going and picking up dope, shooting up, or I'm jumping in dumpsters to go.
But do you know that your family wouldn't embrace you now? Or are you just ashamed?
I try talking to my mom all the time. She wouldn't even answer on Mother's Day.
If your mom was to watch this right now, what would you want your mom to hear you say? What do you want to tell your mom?
She already knows. I miss her. What would I say? I'm sorry.
You're sorry for...
I don't know. Sorry for a lot of... She raised me better than this. I got more years on these streets than most of these people who are homeless, like these old homeless people. I got more years out here than them. I'm only 30, man. I'm good at it. I don't want to be good at it. My mom taught me way better than that.
Have you ever tried to get clean?
I hit 4 rehabs in less than 2 years one time.
4 rehabs in 2 years.
I wasn't ready at the time. I learned a hell of a lot of stuff though. And now I don't want to do this no more, but it's like, I don't know anything else to do.
So when you went to rehab 4 times in 2 years, it sounds to me like there was a part of you that was trying, or were you being forced to by court order?
The first one was I was trying because I thought I'm ready, but I don't think I was. I had an opportunity fall into my lap, and I took advantage of it, but then I kind of messed it up.
Well, what's changed from that time to today? Because you said to me that today you don't want to do this anymore.
I want to go home. I miss my mom.
And you feel like to get home you need to get clean? Is that how you feel?
She won't talk to me. Sorry, I don't mean to.
That's okay. So you know to get your mom back in your life, you need to get clean.
Yeah, I gotta get clean. I gotta do a lot of other things. I gotta grow up.
What keeps you from going into a rehab program now?
Because in all honesty, it's easier to sit outside, hold a cardboard sign, and shoot up dope than it is to have to deal with stuff.
Do you admit that you're just self-medicating?
Of course. I know I am, for sure. I don't want to have to deal with anything.
But that style of life isn't getting you closer to your mother, is it?
Nope.
Before you started using, did you have dreams?
Yeah, of course.
What did you dream about? What were your dreams for your life?
First, I wanted to have my own skate shop. You know, in high school, I wanted to have my own skate shop.
Yeah.
And then I might not look like it. I'm real skinny, but I promise I'm a fat kid. I wanted to be a chef. I want to go to culinary school.
Really?
And then this whole addiction thing, like, you know, I want to be an adolescent drug counselor for a while.
Drug counselor. So you want to save people from what has taken you.
It's kind of showing better things. Not that my way is right or that I know everything, but I can help somebody some way, someday, somehow.
The 4 programs that you went through that didn't work, can you tell me how long they were?
The first one was actually in Costa Mesa, California.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna be there for 60 days.
Do you think 60 days is long enough to
No.
complete something?
I didn't get here overnight. I won't get out of it overnight.
So there's a friend of mine. His name is John Vulcan. He was very successful in business and has taken his entire fortune and he's committed it to helping good young men like you get their lives back on track. But you have to make a 2-year commitment. He'll cover all of your expenses, living, food, everything. And while you're recovering, he will help you develop some job skills in a business that he owns while you're in recovery, so that when you walk out in 2 years, you're clean and you have an income source on day 1. Would you be into that?
I'd be all about it. See, I'm ready to climb up that ladder, but I don't have that first rung to start getting up. That's, in a sense, as I see it, would be my first rung to help me, like, get where I want to go.
And you're serious?
100%.
In my world, I was raised that a man's word is his bond.
I'm all about it. I give you my word on that one.
You shake like a man on it?
Yeah, of course.
Hug like a brother?
Yeah, you're gonna think we hug it out. That's how you know when I'm serious, when I hug somebody.
That's awesome. you and your mother will be back together as soon as we get you clean. Meeting Cody was a powerful experience for me, and I am determined to get him the help that I believe he wants and that he so desperately needs. I did eventually sit down with Jen and Sam, who shared more with me about their life's work of trying to get this amazing drug naloxone into the hands and veins of those who desperately need it. I think when people think of somebody who's addicted to opioids, they are thinking that somebody's getting a prescription. It says, take one every 3 to 4 hours as needed. And they're like, oh, that addicted person is either taking 2 or he's taking 1 every hour. He's not following the directions. And what you're saying to people is even people who perfectly follow the directions can end up addicted if they continue to take them for a period of time.
Dependent is the right word to use, because you
Dependent.
they can become physically dependent on these substances in as little as 7 days. So when people say to me, I guess they should have chosen not to use drugs, I guess they made a really poor decision, didn't they? Yeah, the decision
Yeah, they had a
chose
root canal.
was to follow what their doc and their pharmacist told them to do. And then they woke up 10 days later and went, I can't stop this.
Everybody seems to know 2 people. They know somebody with some form of cancer, and they know somebody who's struggling with an addiction to an opioid.
When Andy died, a good friend of mine who was a paramedic said, I wish they would have had naloxone, the people he was with, knowing very well that they could have gotten him breathing again instead of being too scared to call for help. Naloxone, it has one job. The only thing it does is it reverses an opiate overdose. So it's a prescription medication, although you can get it a lot of times without prescription, and it will go into the body and block the effects of an opiate overdose and get them breathing again, essentially saving their life.
You're saying this drug almost brings people back from the dead.
I've heard it called a Lazarus drug. We both have. And you can't get high with it, you can't overdose on it, you can't get addicted to it, you can't relieve pain with it. It literally has one job: reverse an opiate overdose.
But to think, that much liquid, right?
Save a life.
Yeah, absolutely. And how bizarre is that? In what other realm are you absolutely able to hold potentially a life in your hand? There are going to be folks that say, you know, why? Why are we spending money on this when this doesn't do anything about the underlying problem, right? Because that's true. If I was currently addicted to an opioid, I overdose, and you save my life, well, you've brought me back to pretty much one of the most awful places I could imagine, which is still in the throes of addiction, probably in withdrawals, because nobody is signing up for this stuff, especially an active user. But this is how bad it's gotten. We're literally at our last resort. And that is, look, you can't get better if you're dead. And so this is what is keeping people alive, but this is the last resort.
Even though naloxone doesn't fix opiate dependence or addiction, it gives people the reassurance that maybe I could do something in that awful moment. And that first responder is that first person there. That is the mom sometimes. That is the husband or wife sometimes. That is the friend sometimes. Sometimes it is a police officer or an EMS provider. But first responder to me means first person there. And that really has been our goal, is to give people the ability to be that first responder for somebody like they weren't there for my brother.
Thank you for all of the unbelievable work you're doing. I am so sorry that somebody wasn't there for your brother. Thank God in heaven that you are now out there trying to be there for the next person's brother. And I'm sure blessings will continue to pour over you guys for your hard work.
Thank you.
Dr. Jennifer?
Yes,
Plum,
thank you.
And little brother
Thank
Sam.
you. Little brother Sam. Yeah. Thank you guys very much. As I headed back to my car, my crew and I were approached by a curious bystander who, after I told him what we were doing, surprisingly opened up about his own ongoing battle with addiction. So you have used everything.
I have used everything. From horse tranks to you name it. I've used every drug under the sun. It's mostly cocaine right now.
What's keeping you on the coke?
Party, lifestyle habits, which is what alcohol is a big factor in that for me. Have a couple drinks, I want a couple lines. Then it's a downward spiral from there. And then I wake up 3 days later, not knowing where I've been and what I've done.
So you at times will wake up days later.
Yeah, and just won't have much of a recollection of where I've been and what I've done. Life gave me a huge wake-up call, and for a long time I kind of didn't realize that. And instead of seizing that wake-up call, I fell further into depression for a while.
When you say depressed, do you mean that you feel you struggle from a clinical depression, or do you mean that your mind has let you get to a dark place?
I think my mind has let me get to a dark place.
Have you ever attempted to take your life?
Yes. About 7 months ago, did successfully. Here I stand, but what I mean is I shot up heroin and methamphetamines, and I was dead for, I think, 7 to 10 minutes, before I don't know what happened. I woke up, shot out of it. I had bled all over my floor. I woke up with EMTs and police officers in my house.
You knew the dosage you were putting into your body was probably going to kill you.
Was lethal, yeah. I didn't tell her that.
Who?
My friend who called the EMT. And that was messed up on my part.
Is this the first time you've said that out loud?
Yeah, actually.
Obviously, the drugs are incredibly dangerous, but do you know, just as dangerous is not telling people how you really feel. That's dangerous.
Yeah, I always say fake it to make it.
Yeah.
That was my put on a smile until it becomes believable, and then it never was believable. And
if you fake it, you break it. That's not a path forward.
yeah,
Right? That isolates you.
it did.
Are you still kind of faking your way out of this?
I am still definitely dealing with some of the problems. I'm just happy at least I'm being proactive about it now.
I'm happy you're being proactive.
Well, thank you.
I don't care how many times you go backwards. If you can still find the strength to take forward steps, then there is hope.
I just still have my bad days. It's good and bad.
Admittedly, you're still struggling with cocaine.
Absolutely.
What are you doing to change that? Because I don't think you have to have 5 favorite drugs to die.
The biggest thing I can do to change that is step away from some of the environments that I've been in, which is a challenge.
So it sounds like in order to shake the last drug, you have to have another death experience.
God, I hope not. I don't want to have to die again. That's the last thing I want to do. I have to find willpower to say no.
You sound like a guy who's fighting a war alone. Because when you say to me, on the one hand, you admit you are addicted to cocaine.
Right.
And on the other hand, you say, I got to find the willpower to not go to my friend's house this weekend. Well, that sounds like a recipe for disaster to me, because if you're an addict, then the willpower thing isn't even really part of the equation anymore. Your addiction, your body, your needs are going to overcome that willpower, right? Isn't that what's happened in the past?
Yes.
You're not in any rehab program currently?
No. I see a therapist and I see a life coach. And they're helping me figure out the tracks I need to move forward with my life, which I think is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no life coach and no therapist is going to be able to take those drugs out of your system.
No, you're right. No, they're not.
You said yourself it's almost a skill of manipulation to get people to believe or do what you need them to do for you.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's a tool or a weapon depending on how you use it. But if you're using it on yourself, it's a weapon.
Now there's a kicker. I didn't think about that.
That's true. If you have taken that gift and turned it around and pointed it back at yourself, and you are manipulating yourself to believe things that aren't accurate, true, or real,
Yeah.
you're using your best gift as your worst weapon against yourself. You could BS yourself into death. Have you ever been in a swimming pool with another friend and they held you underwater for a second? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
And for a half a second, you're like, oh, I'm gonna die, right? You could almost throw that friend out of the pool.
Yeah.
The day that you want to be clean as desperately as you wanted a breath under that surface of that pool,
Yeah.
that is the day your life will turn around. That's how bad you have to want it. When you hit that point, I want you to reach out to me. I will shower you in resources.
Okay.
But you have to hold yourself accountable.
I agree.
All right, man. Honor to meet you.
Honor to meet you.
When Matt is truly ready to turn his back on his last drug of choice, he has my number. As for Cody, the incredible people of the John Vulcan Academy are hard at work to get Cody the help I promised him. Their 2-year program has had extraordinary success with addicts who have been in and out of rehab multiple times, just like Cody. Best of all, virtually all of the costs of their program are paid by the generosity of a foundation which John Vulcan himself funded. Thank you, Mr. Vulcan, for the incredible work your team is doing for people just like Cody. My friends, this brings me to the end of season 1 of Tuesdays with Troy. And what a season it has been. We reunited loved ones, met inspirational gangbangers, met the living victims of suicide, witnessed a courageous mother turn her life around, discovered that hate can be overcome. We received the warnings of a porn addict. We did our best to bring help to the child care crisis. And we had our hearts lifted by those who are no longer with us. And so much more. I hope that you've enjoyed the journey with us here on Tuesdays with Troy. I've certainly been grateful for your presence in all of this process. And if anything we've talked about has made an impact in your life, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And most importantly, these episodes will continue to live on here. And I hope that you'll share them with anybody whose life you believe can be touched or changed by what we've tried to do here. To my fantastic friend, Dr. Phil, who was the one that gave us the green light to do all of this, who has been a longtime friend and mentor of mine, Dr. Phil, thank you. I appreciate your faith in me and the work that we do here. We won't be here next Tuesday, but I will see you around.